Hello, welcome to the Grow Your Wealthy Mindset podcast, where it is all about helping amazing physicians just like you create a wealthy life free from burnout and with the financial security to practice medicine on your own terms. I'm your host, Dr. Elisa Chiang. Hello, and welcome back to the Grow Your Wealthy Mindset podcast. I hope you're enjoying the holiday season and not stressing out too much, which some people do tend to do at this time of year. Today's podcast topic comes off questions that I see on various Facebook pages where people ask advice about what to do in certain financial situations. Gone are the days that people spend the majority of their working years at the same job. When we leave a job, one of the financial housekeeping tasks we need to do is decide on what to do with any retirement accounts associated with the job we are leaving. The typical accounts you may have with your prior employer are a 403B or 401k, possibly a 457 plan, as well as potentially a healthcare savings account or HSA. If you have a flexible healthcare savings account, you'll need to spend down the money in the account before leaving, as there is no way to take that money with you. In this episode, I'm going to just focus on the retirement accounts. You can look forward to a future episode all about HSAs. Your general options with your retirement accounts, your 403B, 401k, and 457 plan are to 1, keep it at your previous employer if they allow you to do so. 2, roll it over to an IRA or individual retirement account. 3, roll it over into a new employer's plan. 4, roll it over to a solo 401k if you have one. And if you don't, create a side business so you can open a solo 401k and move it there. Or 5, cash it out. Let's go into detail for each option and why you may want to choose that option, as well as the consequences of that option. If you have a substantial amount invested in your 401k or 403b, most plans will allow you to leave it where it is after you separate from your employer. You'll want to check with the custodian of your current plan, or possibly with human resources, depending on your situation, to find out if you can leave the plan where it is once you leave your employed position. If you like the investment options available to you where your account is currently held, and the fees are reasonable, leaving your 401k or 403b in its current location may be a good idea. After you leave your employer, you will no longer be able to make contributions to the plan. However, you will still be able to change your investments within the plan. This will allow you to rebalance, or if you change your investing strategy over time, change it in this account as well. If you have a government 457 plan, you can likely leave your account where it currently resides. It can be advantageous to do so because unlike 401ks and 403bs, there is no penalty for withdrawing from a 457 plan before the age of 59 and a half, if you're withdrawing anytime after you leave that employer. If you're planning on an early retirement, this can be a great source of income until you can tap into other retirement accounts. If you have a non-governmental 457 plan, it's generally best for you to move the assets in that plan elsewhere. That's because unlike 403bs and 401ks, assets in a 457 plan technically still belong to your employer. A 457 plan is also called a deferred compensation plan. You are allowing your employer to keep your compensation in an account that's invested on your behalf. However, if your employer gets into financial difficulty and declares bankruptcy, the funds in the 457 plan would go to pay off your employer's debts, and you will be out of the compensation you deferred. Your next option is to roll over your retirement accounts to an IRA, an individual retirement account. If you have a Roth 401k or Roth 403b, you would roll the funds into a Roth IRA. Depending on what state you live in, there may be some asset protection issues to consider. Any retirement plan that falls under ERISA, ERISA, is 100% protected from creditors. ERISA is the Employee Retirement Income Security Act of 1974, and it was created to ensure that the funds placed in retirement plans during someone's working life will be there for them when they retire. ERISA also sets minimum standards for participation, vesting, benefit accrual, and funding. ERISA covers most employer-sponsored retirement plans, but not public employee plans or IRAs, nor does it cover solo 401ks. This means if you have a 403b or 401k with a non-government employer, it's likely that your account is covered by ERISA and it is protected from creditors. If you roll over your account into your IRA, you are now potentially exposing those assets to any future creditors should you be sued and have a judgment placed against you or have some other reason that a lien is put against you. That could be child support or any number of things. To make things more complicated, it depends on the state you live in and possibly the state you work in, as well as any state you may move to in the future. Some states, like Connecticut, Florida, Illinois, Oregon, Texas, and Washington, have 100% protection for IRAs. Other states have partial protection for funds in an IRA. In Colorado, IRA protection is 100% except for child support and murder. Some states have time values on protection. Hawaii has 100% protection on IRAs for funds deposited 3 years previously, while Louisiana has 100% protection after 1 year. Other states limit the amount that's protected. Nevada protects $500,000 and South Dakota protects up to $1 million. Other states like Kentucky and Nebraska limit protection to extent necessary for support, which is a little nebulous. In Ohio, SEP IRA and Simple IRA have no protection. If you live, work, or may consider moving to a state that doesn't 100% protect an IRA account, it's probably best not to roll over any funds in an ERISA account into an IRA. If you do work for a government job, then it's quite possible that your 403b plan is not an ERISA account, and there are less consequences of rolling it over to an IRA since those funds aren't protected anyways. This could be the case if you're working for a county hospital or if you're looking at planning for your spouse who works for a state or local government or a school system. Another thing to consider before rolling into a traditional IRA is whether or not you contribute to a Roth IRA through the backdoor method. If you roll over your traditional 403b or 401k into a traditional IRA, this will make things messy when it comes to doing your backdoor conversion. When you do a backdoor Roth conversion, you're putting post-tax money into your traditional IRA, then converting it to a Roth IRA. Since the contribution was post-tax money, there's essentially no issue. If you have a traditional IRA that has pre-tax money in it, which would be the money that you roll over from a traditional 401k or 403b, then now you're making a contribution with post-tax money. And then you try doing your backdoor Roth IRA, where you're putting in a contribution with post-tax money. Now you've got a mix of pre-tax and post-tax money in your IRA. You'll be subject to the pro rata rule. This makes things complicated, and it's really best to avoid being in this situation. This would not be an issue if you had a Roth 401k or Roth 403b, because then you can roll it into your Roth IRA. There's no pro rata issue to deal with at all. Your third option is to roll over the plan you had with your old employer into your new employer's plan. This assumes that you have a new employer and that their plan allows rollovers. This can be a good option if your new employer has a plan with good investment options and reasonable fees. It also allows you to consolidate accounts. If you decide to take this route, it's typically best to opt for a direct versus an indirect rollover. With a direct rollover, the money gets transferred from your prior employer's plan to your new employer's plan without ever coming to you. An indirect rollover is where you request the funds from your prior employer's plan to be sent to you. Your prior employer will withhold federal taxes on the amount distributed to you. You then have 60 days to deposit the money into your new employer's plan in order to avoid taxes and penalties for early withdrawal. You then have 60 days to deposit the money into your new employer's plan to avoid taxes and possibly the 10% early withdrawal penalty. You'll also need to come up with the money that your prior employer withheld to deposit into your new employer's plan. For example, if you had $50,000 in your prior employer's 401k and you're in the 24% tax bracket, your prior employer will withhold $12,000 and send you a check for $38,000. You'll then deposit $50,000 into your new employer's plan, $38,000 from the check that you received, and $12,000 of money that you have to find from your own funds. You'll then get the $12,000 back when you file your taxes, as long as you followed all the rules involved with rolling over the retirement account funds. To me, there is no reason to do it this way. Just do the direct rollover where the funds are sent from one plan to another. I really have no idea why someone would choose to do it in direct rollover so long as a direct rollover is an option. Even if you're told a direct rollover isn't an option, ask someone else, find out how to make it an option. Option 4 is to roll over your prior employer's retirement plan into your solo 401k. You may be thinking, but I don't have a solo 401k. A solo 401k is a retirement plan for self-employed people and small business owners with no employees other than a spouse. Sole proprietors, LLCs, and S-corps can open a solo 401k as long as there's earned self-employment income. This means all you have to do to be eligible to open a solo 401k is to have some self-employment income. This includes income from doing medical surveys. I kid you not. There's no specified minimum amount of self-employment income to qualify. You do not even need an EIN to open a solo 401k, though it's probably a good idea to have one. I assure you that you can find some medical survey that you would qualify for and get money and then open a solo 401k. Like IRAs, solo 401ks are not covered by ERISA. However, solo 401k plans enjoy comprehensive bankruptcy protections under federal law, significantly exceeding those available to IRAs. State laws determine the level of creditor protection for solo 401ks outside of bankruptcy. As far as I can tell, they typically follow the same protections as an IRA. A big benefit of rolling to a solo 401k instead of an IRA is that you can continue to contribute to your backdoor Roth IRA. Another advantage of a solo 401k is that if you invest in real estate through a self-directed account, a solo 401k is not subject to UDFI or UBIT taxes. A self-directed IRA can be subject to a tax called UDFI or UBIT on income from debt-leveraged real estate. This would include any investments in most real estate syndications or real estate funds. The consequences that come with cashing out any 401k or 403b plan will depend on your age. If you are 59 and a half years older, then you will pay taxes on funds from a traditional 401k, 403b, or 457 plan, but no penalty. If you do have a lot of money in that account, it may push you up a tax bracket, so that is something to consider. If you have a Roth 401k or Roth 403b, then you can get the cash tax and penalty free. However, now that account isn't in a Roth account, and so there's no way for it to continue to grow tax-free. If you are under the age of 59 and a half, you'll pay federal, state, and possibly local taxes on the distribution, as well as a 10% penalty for any withdrawals from a traditional 401k or 403b plan. If you have a Roth 401k or 403b account, the tax implications are a bit trickier for what's considered an early withdrawal. Early withdrawals have to be prorated between non-taxable contributions and taxable earnings. Taxes, as well as a 10% penalty if you are under the age of 59 and a half, will be owed on the non-contribution portion that is withdrawn. If you are between the ages of 55 and 59 and a half, then you could use the rule of 55 for cashing out your 401k or 403b. Under the terms of the rule of 55, you can withdraw funds from your current job with no 10% penalty if you leave the job on or after the year you turn 55. I suppose that means that you could be 54 as long as you turn 55 later that year and still use this rule. You would still pay income taxes off money from a traditional 401k or 403b, but that's really true whenever you withdraw from a traditional 401k or 403b, no matter what age you are. Depending on your employer's plan, you may be able to take the money out over time, but your employer may require you to take it out in one lump sum, which could expose you to a higher income tax rate. This rule only works for your current employer that you're leaving. If you have any other 401k or 403b plans that you left with other prior employers before your current employer that you're leaving, then you would need to transfer those funds into your current 401k or 403b plan in order to make use of being able to cash out without the 10% penalty by making use of the rule of 55. There you have it, your 5 options for your retirement accounts when you leave your job. Again, they are: 1, keep it with your previous employer or the employer you're leaving. 2, roll it into an IRA. 3, roll it over into your new employer's plan. 4, roll it over into a solo 401k. And 5, cash it out. Cashing out is probably the worst option unless this is part of your retirement planning. You're robbing your future self of funds set aside so that eventually you don't have to work. If your prior employer has a good plan, then it's fine to leave it there. You can always roll it over to somewhere else later. What you want to avoid is having many accounts left with multiple prior employers. It's too easy to forget about an account and just adds to more tracking. If your new employer has a good plan, rolling into that plan is a great idea, since then you'll have less accounts to deal with. Depending on what state you live in, rolling over to a solo 401k can give you the most flexibility and options when it comes to choosing your investments. Thank you so much for being a listener of the Grow Your Wealthy Mindset podcast. If you're facing a financial situation where you really would like some advice and hand-holding just on a specific topic, that's something that I can also help you with. Again, I'm not a financial advisor, so depending on your situation, maybe it's best to find a fee-based only financial advisor to help you with your specific situation. But if it's really about trying to make a decision in the mindset process, this is where money coaching can be so valuable. If you would like to meet with me and talk about working together, head to my website, www.growyourwealthymindset.com, and schedule a Zoom call. I'd love to talk to you. Have a wonderful week, and thanks for being a listener of the Grow Your Wealthy Mindset podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love it if you could share it with your friends and colleagues. And now for the disclaimer. I am not a certified financial planner, accountant, or attorney, and nothing I say should be construed as professional investment, tax, or legal advice. This show is primarily for your education and entertainment. I am a physician, but I'm probably not your physician. So if you need any medical advice, please contact your own physician. Thank you.